What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Longhorn Shop and Ranch. I'm your host Michael, and today we will be doing an oil change on the 6.2 liter LT1 V8. That is the beating heart of our 2018 Chevrolet Corvette Grand Sport. Now, before we begin, we want to make sure that all of our parts and tools are readily available for the job. So first, we'll go on to parts. So we will be using 10 quarts of Amsoil Signature Series 5W30 motor oil, and we will be using an Amsoil EA15K50 oil filter. And then moving on to tools, we will be using a 15mm wrench for the drain plugs. We'll be using a 3/8 ratchet with filter wrench for the filter. We'll need our funnel, some rags to clean off our work area, safety glasses. We'll also need a floor jack. We'll need at least two jack stands and a drain pan with at least 15 quarts capacity. The total capacity for this vehicle with the dry-sump system is just under 10 quarts. So if we use a 10-quart pan, it'll work, but we'll risk significant spillage, so we're just going to use a 15-quart pan. That'll give us plenty of room to drain all the old oil out and not have to worry about spilling it all over the shop floor. Now, before we begin our oil change, we'll need to install the jack pucks on the bottom of the car that enable us to use a floor jack to lift the vehicle without damaging it. For that, we will be using these ACS 45-4-197 pucks. These are the red ones. We have 4 here, along with the associated hardware. So we'll go ahead and get these installed on the car, and we'll go on from there. So to install these, as you can see, we have one puck. We'll also need our clamp and two bolts and a 5/32 Allen key to install. So the first thing we're going to want to do is take our 2 bolts, slide them in here. Then we're going to want to take our little spacer, put it on here. Little clamp rather. We'll screw this on just a little, each side just a little bit, just enough to make sure that they're on there. There we go. So it should be like such, and now we'll go underneath and get this one installed. To install, we'll want to make sure go in, rotate 90 degrees, and then we'll bring our Allen key. And we'll go ahead and tighten the bolts the rest of the way down. We want to make sure to hold the the puck in position. We'll tighten this down now until it's tight. And we'll repeat with the other bolt. Until it's nice and tight. And we're good to go. Now that we're ready to lift the car, we want to observe a few safety precautions. First, we want to make sure the parking brake is set and that there is a chock under at least one of the rear wheels to keep the car from moving. Now that we're safe, we can proceed with lifting the car. So first, we're going to maneuver our floor jack into place. We're going to start on the driver's side, but which side you start on doesn't matter. So we're going to jack the car up until we can get our jack stands underneath. We want to place them on the crossmember between the rear of the front lower control arms. Once they are set, we're going to lower the jack slightly, just enough so that the weight of the car is resting on the stands. I like to leave the jack in position even with stands. That way, if I do suffer a stand failure, there is at least something between me and a day full of unpleasantness. Now that we're under the car, we can see the 2 oil drain plugs and the oil filter. So first things first, I am going to slide my drain pan into position and remove the plugs. The rear drain plug drains the oil out of the engine block, and the forward plug drains the oil out of the oil tank. I will remove the rear plug first and let it drain, and once that's done, I will move to the forward plug and let it drain. Next, we're going to replace the filter. I'm going to take my filter wrench and break it loose, then unscrew it with my hand, making sure that the drain pan is underneath the filter. Once that's done, I will wipe down the mounting surface, making sure the old filter gasket is gone and that there's no damage or debris in the oil filter area. Then I will take my new filter, lubricate the gasket with new oil, and screw it on hand tight. I do like to pre-fill my oil filters, but that's not actually necessary. It's just a habit I picked up along the way, and it's what I've been doing with cartridge filters ever since. Now that the old oil filter has been replaced, I will go ahead and reinstall the drain plugs. While waiting for the oil to drain, I went ahead and inspected the plugs to make sure they were intact and undamaged. Seeing as they're both in good condition, we'll go ahead and reinstall them, tighten with our wrench, but make sure not to over tighten them. Now that the old oil has been drained out and the filter has been replaced, we can go ahead and lower the car back to the ground. So will simply be, we'll jack it back up, remove the stands, and gently lower it back down. Next, we'll go over to our oil tank. We'll remove the cap and the dipstick and wipe off the dipstick. Now, we'll fill it up with oil. The tank should take approximately 9.5 quarts of oil. It's not an exact science. I like to fill the oil up to halfway on the dipstick. Gives me enough oil in the engine while at the same time leaving room for heat expansion and any old oil that has remained in the engine. Once I'm happy with the oil level, I'll look underneath to make sure there are no leaks. I learned the hard way to make sure there's no leaks before starting the engine. And once I've done that, it looks like we're good to go. So we'll go ahead and climb in and fire it up. At this point, I like to let the car idle for about 15 seconds or so, just enough to build oil pressure and fill the oil passages. Then I'll shut it off and let it sit for about 5 minutes before double checking the oil level. Once that's done, we'll reset the oil life monitor. To do that, we'll go to the instrument cluster, go to oil life, hit reset, and hit select, and it'll reset to 100%, and we're good to go. And that's a wrap on changing the oil in our 2018 Chevrolet Corvette. If you have any questions, comments, etc., please leave them down in the comments below. And again, please like and subscribe to this video so we can get you more content like this. And hope someone learned something. You enjoyed the video, and as always, take care and stay safe.